Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of the show. We've got on the Zoom line Craig Sybert and Jack Toledano. Greetings, my friends. How are you?
Good.
Very
Awesome.
good.
We've got another fun show for all of you watching today. So after last week's show, the three of us were just chit-chatting about what we could kind of come up with next. And Jack had suggested, why don't we do something that kind of ties into sports? And, Jack was like, Jack and I are both from New York. We're both Mets fans. And we're like, well, how can we tie in something about baseball or sports or the Mets or whatever? And then I got to thinking, well, there we go. Let's go Mets.
I almost wore my Nats shirt tonight, but I decided to lay off.
Nats. So I said, well, how about we try to tie in some songs here? And this is going to be like a part one and part two episode. It'll be in one episode, but there's like two halves to it. So we were thinking about doing something that's like, well, in baseball, when you're the home team, you usually get to, when you go up to the plate, you get to have a theme song, right? You're kind of saunter up to the batter's box, walking from the on-deck circle to the batter's box, you have this song you play. So we started talking, it's like, well, what about if we came up with a couple songs that we would love to hear if we were professional baseball players, we would love to hear when we walk up to the plate. So we've each picked three songs, and we're going to talk about them a bit. And then the second part of the show here, we're going to switch gears and go from baseball to football. We've got the Super Bowl coming up next week, and everybody's always like, oh, the Super Bowl, you're either into it or you're not. But a lot of people are like, oh, but the halftime show, all those great expensive commercials that companies have paid millions and millions of dollars for, and the musical acts. Is it going to be a great band, a terrible band, a bunch of people playing together that don't have anything to do with each other? Is it going to be a weird spectacle? It's not musical at all. Is it going to be fantastic? Is it going to suck? Is it going to be all these things? I don't know, whatever. So we started to think, well, if we were the ones making the decisions on who played at the halftime show, who would it be? But we're going to give you two options here. We're going to each give you two picks. One is going to be for next year, since the Super Bowl is next week. We're pre-planning for 2022. Who would we pick from an existing band or artist to play the halftime show next year in 2022? But then also, if we were going to go back in time, hop in our time machine and go back in time and pull a band or artist that's not active anymore to play at a Super Bowl, who would it be? All right. So that's kind of what we're doing today. So I'm going to have Craig kick us off with his first walk up to the batter's box song. Well, he is the first baseman for the Washington Nationals. Craig Sybert, number 35. Well, what is your first song that you're going to pick?
So obviously I'm a home run hitter, so I got to pick songs that
naturally
that match. And I really had to take a different look at this because there's so many songs I could think of that the opening of the song or the guitar riff or the heaviness of the opening of the song is what I want to walk up to. But I think I took it more to the words because, again, going to a lot of the Nats games here, a lot of their songs, they're playing like the chorus or a couple lines out of that song to where it fits kind of what they're doing or what they feel or what they want to be, what they want to go up to. So my first pick was actually Higher by Creed, and big Creed fan. And it's because obviously I want the ball to go higher, but I like that song anyways. And when you get to the chorus of that song, it's pretty heavy. It kicks in, and it's for me walking up to the plate and get ready to hit a home run. It's an excitement song. It's get me into it song. So that was my first pick. On the other two are like one of 15 that I have on the list because I couldn't figure it out. This was the first one that came to my mind though when I was thinking about this idea.
And higher is so important in today's baseball, right? Because everybody's talking about launch angle, right? So you want to make sure,
exactly.
Right? It's
exactly.
Like, that's got to go up and up and up and up and keep going, right?
That's what I wanted to do.
It's the bane of our existence in baseball. Too much launch angle and too many strikeouts.
Yeah, well, but I'm still a home run hitter, so I'm going to go up there to Higher. So
hey, a slugger is a slugger, right? No matter that's where you are.
I mean, not to derail this conversation too much, but as a Met fan, I've always longed for the 350 Kirby Puckett type hitter, guy that can hit 340, 350 consistently every year.
Well, not many of them anymore, Jack,
if we're being honest, I play softball, and I am a right-handed hitter that hits to right field because it ticks everybody off. And in softball, you can do that. Baseball is really hard to do. So I probably have around that average, but it's softball. It's a totally different world than baseball.
All right, Jack, what's your first choice?
So in this assignment, Pete said, okay, what 3 baseball walk-up songs would you include? But me, I've had this fantasy forever. You know, what would my walk-up song be if I were a professional wrestler and I was in WWE or AEW coming down to the ring? So for that song, I picked a song by Led Zeppelin, and it's not the very opening riff, but it's about a minute into the song. It's after John Paul Jones and Robert Plant do their little bass and harmonica collaboration for a song on Zeppelin 2 called Bring It On Home, where it does that.
Oh yeah. I don't
Great.
know that the
Great.
words kind of fit baseball too. You're bringing it on home, right? I mean, that's
Yeah. Yep. Didn't think of
Absolutely.
that.
good riff though. Very good
Of course,
riff.
until Jack gets into the ring, and then Andre the Giant steps over the ropes, puts his hand on your head, and that's it. End the story. Puts the big foot on your chest, and 1, 2, 3, you're gone.
Crushes all the air out of me.
That's it. Done. All right. So for my first choice, I decided, all right, so kind of like what Craig said, it's like the riff has got to be there, I think, but also the title of the song and the chorus has to kind of have something to do with what you're trying to do, right? What you're trying to do is you're trying to go up there and get a hit off of a pretty mean pitcher, right? So I chose, because I love the riff and it just makes sense, I chose No More Mr. Nice Guy by Alice Cooper.
Nice.
You know, because, you know, quite frankly, you're sitting there in the batter's box and you're waiting, and all of a sudden, you know, coming up to the plate, number 42, Pete Pardo. And then you just kind of saunter up, right? Wiggle the butt a little bit, right? You got that attitude, and you get up there, and everybody always says, Pete's such a nice guy. Pete's such a nice guy. Well, you know what? I'm not a nice guy right now, because I'm going to take that curveball you're going to throw over the plate, and I'm going to hit it to the moon, right? I'm not a nice guy right now. We can go and have a beer after the game and talk friendly and all that kind of stuff. But right now, I'm trying to get a hit off of you, Mr. Pitcher. So, yeah, No More Mr. Nice Guy. Good anthemic song. Chorus is great. And I figure, you know, the first 30 seconds of the song is so great anyway, and that's really what you want. So that's my first choice.
Nice choice.
So I went with a band that I picked like 6 songs off of their multi albums that they've got here, and couldn't narrow it down. Finally narrowed it down to one, but like every song that this band has is anger and rage. Well, it's Rage Against the Machine. The song I picked though is Calm Like a Bomb, which again, kind of your intimidation factor. I'm up there, but I'm going to explode. I'm going to blow this ball out of the park. But Calm Like a Bomb is also it's a hard hitting song. I mean, it's got a good solid riff, and I could have picked any of the Rage Against the Machine songs. Like I said, I had 4 or 5 other ones on my list. It was between that one and Killing in the Name of. Obviously, I didn't want to get too political on it with Killing in the Name of, but I'm killing the ball. But yeah, the Rage Against the Machine is. I mean, it's just. You can pick any of their songs to walk up to the plate too. It's going to be anger and aggression and getting ready to hit the ball.
Yeah, I think a lot of their songs are just kind of made for the arena somehow, whether it be the sports arena or the concert stage, right?
Agreed.
Yeah, very cool. All right, Jack, back to you.
Okay, as I'm just scribbling some notes here. So my second song is actually a reference to the movie An Officer and a Gentleman. I'm sure you both have seen it with Richard Gere. And
I just saw it like 3 weeks ago, actually.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yeah, it was on one of the movie channels or whatever.
And it's not the Joe Cocker song. It's actually a song that spills where he's in a bar and they're playing pool, and then a fight breaks out and it spills out into the street. And it's the song Tush by ZZ Top with that killer riff. What a great song to walk up to the plate to.
Yeah. And I think too, the first kind of, I don't know, 15, 20 seconds of the song, it's kind of a little mellow and they're just getting started, so you can walk really slow from the batter's box up. You could be one of those guys that, who got rubbing the pine tar and spending all this extra time, got the little weights, you're fiddling with the gloves. So, and then when it really kicks in, That's when you're walking into the batter's box.
Sprint. Right? That's when you sprint into the batter's box.
Right. Yep.
The excitement's there, and you just jump.
Yep. Exactly. That's a good choice. Thank you. All right, for my number 2. Again, I wanted to go with the theme of the title of the song and the chorus having kind of something to do with what we're doing here, right? We're playing baseball, we're the batter in the box. And, quite frankly, when you're watching a game, there's 2 guys that are under the spotlight, the batter and the pitcher. And essentially they're in the limelight.
Yes.
So I figured a little Rush, right? And I just think that whole opening sequence is perfect to make your way. What is it? 20 feet from the batter's box to home plate. By the time you get up there, the first line kicks in, and there you go.
Yeah.
The at-bat starts, right?
Perfect words for it. Perfect.
I was actually watching one of those World Series games when the Toronto Blue Jays were in it, and Geddy Lee was right behind home plate watching.
He's got like season seats. He's always there.
He's awesome.
He's very, he's just, I once watched an entire game. I don't remember who the Blue Jays were playing. And he was just sitting right back there. He barely moves. He just sits there and, very calmly watches the game. He's a big baseball fan.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
Yep. All right, Craig, back to you.
We're back to me. So again, kind of sticking with the theme and the words, but also good, rocking music to get up to, but it's Hit the Lights by Metallica, because that's exactly what I want to do. The lights are in the back of the stadium. I want to make sure I hit those lights. And I mean, who doesn't like Metallica when you're coming up to, to get yourself excited and into it? And again, I probably could have picked 4 or 5 different songs by them, but yeah, that was the one I settled on, was Hit the Lights, because it fit kind of what I was going to be doing.
Yeah, I mean, that first album is chock full of ones. I mean, Seek and Destroy.
Yeah.
No Remorse. I mean,
yes.
I have no remorse. I'm going to crush this baseball. And I got no remorse. I'm going to seek and destroy every pitch you throw into me.
Yeah.
And So hit
the
those explosive solos. And
Fuel would be another good one from their later album. I mean, you could pick like a lot of their songs.
Master of Puppets.
Master of Puppets.
Yep. Before we started recording, I was eating dinner with my family. We were talking about these topics, and somebody brought up, he's a Yankee fan, and he brought up Mariano Rivera and his walk-up song out of the bullpen, Enter Sandman.
Enter Sandman for years, right?
Yeah, there you go.
And Jack, I just noticed right now you're wearing a Jethro Tull shirt, correct?
I am.
There you go. I just happened to notice it. All right. For my third and last choice here in this baseball walk-up thing. So I tried to go really outside the box. And, in my original list, I had a Black Sabbath song and I had a Deep Purple song. And then I'm thinking, oh, God, the audience is going to be like, oh, that Pardo, he's picking Sabbath and Purple songs again. Will he ever do something else? Right. So I said, all right. So I want to pick something a little bit differently. And then I thought of this song, which I love the song. It's probably my favorite song from this guitar player. But I just love the opening riff of the song. And I think it's really cool when you think about it. So it's I Am a Viking from Yngwie Malmsteen off the Marching Out album. And the opening riff is great. So that's what you do. And, you walk up to the plate, and then Jeff Scott Soto comes in on the vocal. I am a Viking. We're going off to war. And it's just like, and really, when you think about it, in a baseball game, that hitter and that pitcher, they're having a battle, right? That's kind of like a war. So like the Vikings with the big, they got their big swords and their staffs and all that kind of stuff. I got my baseball bat. I am that Viking. I'm all ready to go. So I figured, you know what? Something a little bit different. I think it'd be pretty cool. It's an up-tempo song. It's heavy. It's kind of gothic sounding, a little neoclassical. And why not turn into a Viking while you're trying to club that fastball over the fence? So that's my final choice.
As a baseball thing, I think we went batted out of order here.
We did bat out of order.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I didn't get my third one in, but that's okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Jeez, I'm so excited here. I was like,
right.
Well, before you jump into it, Jack, I wanted to say that, we're picking the songs that we want to do. Again, if I'm the home run hitter, I'm hitting that. I couldn't think of a better pick for you, Pete, than that. I mean, guitar virtuoso, gives the story of what's going on, carrying the big bat, it's perfect. I love it.
That's cool.
And Jack, I apologize. I was so excited to get my pick. I just skipped right over you.
That's cool. So it's funny that you mentioned Black Sabbath and how you don't want to mention them too much or Deep Purple too much. I feel like I mentioned Judas Priest too much, so I'm staying away from them. And I'm actually going with a Dio era Sabbath song, Neon Nights. Again,
Nice.
that is a crushing opening riff, and I am a huge fan of Ronnie James Dio. I just love his vocals.
That's the song I was going to pick, by the way.
Yeah. And that was my third selection.
He just picked
That's
it for
what I
you.
thought, because, you know, a lot of the, Sabbath's one of my favorite bands of all time, but a lot of this stuff, you know, is slower and everything like that. That is like supercharged, in your face. Then I was like, well, that would be awesome to, like, you know, walk up to the plate to. But then I was like, oh, they're going to complain. I'm picking another Sabbath song. So I was like, you know what? But I'm glad you did, Jack, because someone did. That's the
Yeah.
I was trying to think in my head what another fast Supernaut's actually decently fast, but I can't think of any other fast songs that they've got.
I mean, they're not
Symptom of the Universe.
Yeah,
the Universal Hole in the Sky. Yeah, would be good. Yeah. There are plenty of them, but
I just wanted to give Pete a chance to talk about Sabbath again.
Hey, you don't stop me, I'll keep going, right? So. All right, now to switch gears, we're going to go from baseball to football. So, like I mentioned earlier, we've got the Super Bowl coming up in a week, or a little over a week and a half. So, we are now the promoters here. We are going to pick someone who's going to play at halftime Super Bowl 2022, as well as we're going to hop in our time machine and pick a band that's no longer around, who's going to play at a previous Super Bowl. So, Craig, who's going to play for you? Who are you going to book for 2022?
So I had to really think about this one, because it's not just musician that I was thinking about. It's really also performance. Like, it had to be a band that could still kind of move around and get the crowd into it, because it's more of a performance than it is a concert. Concerts, you know, you play the songs, you're through the songs. Here you're doing a couple partial songs, or you're doing half a song and mixing it with another song, or you're only getting to do one or two songs that, you know, throughout the whole thing with all the theatrics. So I really had to think about it. And like, my initial thought was to go with somebody really new, like Greta Van Fleet's one of the, you know, newer kind of hot bands in rock. But I ended up sticking with a band that's been around for a while. And I think they could really still perform really well on stage and kind of get the crowd into it and have a lot of pyrotechnics. And I picked Green Day as the band to do that, because they got a lot of popular songs. People still know some of the older songs. They're still slightly popular now. And I could think they could still put on a pretty good show right now.
Yeah, I would think they'd be pretty energetic and be, you know, pretty into it and get the crowd pumped, right? And you know what? I was just thinking about it. How is it that Green Day have been around for about 30 years now?
Yes. Isn't that scary?
It's like, what? It's like, what happened there? I was just thinking about that. I'm like, holy crap. It's like, you're
like yesterday they released
Green Day have been around. Well, where did I get Dream Theater from? Jesus.
Yeah.
It's getting late, guys. It's getting late.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I remember like Green Day was like what, 1991 or 2?
191 or 92. They had a couple demo tapes put out. I actually have one of them somewhere. And then Kerplunk came out, which I find is a much better album than Dookie, but Dookie is, you know, one of their biggest.
Huge.
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. I mean, it's iconic. But yeah, they've been around for a long time, but they're still semi popular at this point. I think they could put on a pretty good halftime show.
And I bet you if they put them on the Super Bowl, they'd be pretty popular once again.
Right back on top again, probably. Yeah.
How about you, Jack?
Okay, so before we went on the air, we were talking about how difficult this was, because a lot of the bands that we love are almost past their prime in their existence. But for me, I wanted to pick a hard rock band, but somebody that was in the mainstream, somebody really good that I would say that goes across most of the demos that pretty much everybody has heard of. So I came up with, and again, they just got back together with their singer, and they're planning on going on tour, I think, after the COVID happens, AC/DC.
Oh,
great choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With Ryan Johnson coming back,
Yeah,
with him and Angus, I mean, it's magic.
Oh,
The
man.
songs that they could play, It's a Long Way to the Top, Hell's Bells, Dirty Deeds, Highway to Hell, You Shook Me All Night Long, which I think the whole world knows that song. I
Yes.
just think they'd kill it.
Thunderstruck.
Thunderstruck, yeah. That
We're used to playing in front of stadiums. That's all they do now, right?
True.
So just imagine all the pyrotechnics and Angus, doing that walk across the stage with his SG and
how many times have you heard Thunderstruck in an arena?
Yeah. Well, you're certainly not going to get an argument out of me. I'm a big AC/DC fan, and I hadn't even thought of it. That's great.
It's a perfect choice, and they just put out that new album a couple months ago. And
there you go. Yeah,
that's a no-brainer right there. That's a no-brainer. That's a great choice. Why didn't I think of that? I'm glad you did, but why didn't I think of that? All right, so this was kind of tough for me. So the first band that came into my mind, and I think I took a little bit of a different route on mine than Craig did, because I think Craig is emphasizing the performance part of it, and I totally get that, because that's what people want to see. They want to see the spectacle, and I was thinking, well, my first choice was all about the songs, and I thought Journey would have been a great choice, because I mean, they got those couple, more than a couple, but they got all those massive hits. They could do like a nice medley and people would love it. But then I did a little research, and I found out that they actually played the pre-show in 2009. I'm like, so it's not quite the halftime, but I was like, you know what? I want to pick someone who's never played at the actual Super Bowl. So I said, all right. But I wanted to take that same concept of playing a medley of beloved songs that almost everybody knows. And I was thinking, well, who's still around that could, and who's like really, represents true Americana rock and roll. And then I was like, well, there's a band from Florida who, before COVID hit, they were midway through this kind of farewell tour, the final tour, the retirement tour. And I think, who better than to have maybe their final show ever before they go off into the sunset in February of 2022 at the Super Bowl, which I believe is going to be in Florida, than Lynyrd Skynyrd.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
That would be the final show. That's it. We're done. We're going to play the Super Bowl. We're going to play Sweet Home Alabama, Give Me Three Steps, Call Me the Breeze, a couple other little half of tracks, whatever, maybe 5 or 6, and then finish it off with either all of or most of Freebird, and then maybe have a couple of guest stars join them in on the closing guitar finale, and that's Lynyrd Skynyrd's send off to all of us.
Yes,
on the biggest stage of them all.
You could have like really cool newer, younger acts or newer, younger musicians come in and do like the solos with them, like that girl, her that plays guitar and bass really well. You could have her come in and like fill in on half the solo. And that would be a great idea.
Someone out come singing, helping Johnny sing, right?
Yeah, love it.
Like, how cool would that be? And you got like all these people up there, and that's like our big, rock and roll goodbye to Lynyrd Skynyrd.
Wow,
also a great moment for the Super Bowl.
I want to go to that show.
I want to go to that. Who can I talk to make that happen?
Really? Right? You need to send that idea to somebody like right now.
All I can say is when we did see Skynyrd a few years ago at Bethel Woods, when they were in the middle of that jam at the end, Freebird, chills were just going up my spine. That
because it's a piece of rock and roll history, right? I mean,
yeah.
Even though for most of us, for me anyway, it's like the Freebird is really overplayed, and
yeah.
I could, if it was up to me, I'd be like, okay, why don't we chop off the whole first half of the song?
Yep.
Get rid of that because I've heard it enough, and just let's pick it up at the guitar solo. I still love hearing the guitar solo.
Yeah, right. It is good. It's
especially when you go see them live, and I've seen them live almost every time they've come around the last like decade and a half. And right. They still bring it live, even though some people are like, oh, but there's hardly any original members left, and blah blah blah. But you know what? It's the songs we want to hear. They sound great. So I would love to see that.
Oh, I would go see that in a heartbeat.
No, that would be
awesome. Yeah. So any final thoughts, guys? Honorable mentions, anything like that?
Well, we still have to go through the.
Oh yeah, the past one. I'm all discombobulated today.
Dude, it's getting late. You already said
late. Getting late.
Well, so I'll kick it off again, and this one is a lot easier for me to pick.
But I think we should just explain to the audience that so first was a current band.
Yep.
Is a fantasy band that we want to, in a perfect world, take this band from X era and put it into today. If we could do that, if we had a time machine.
Today or yesterday, yeah. So either you
Yes.
go back in time and you book that band who was popular at the time, but they're no longer with us, into an old Super Bowl, or you want to bring them up current, whatever. Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead, Craig.
So again, this one kind of came pretty quick to me. I did have an honorable mention after the fact, but so this is a band that I actually saw live years ago. They were amazing live, and I guess they're a band. Yeah, they're technically a band. They actually started out as a punk band. Saw them live years ago, and again, kind of back to that performance type of band. I picked somebody who I knew that could put on a really good show. When I saw them, they put on an amazing show. It was just backwards and forwards, the best concert I've probably been to. And I've seen a lot of rock shows. It's not really a rock band, but I've seen a lot of rock shows, and this still is my number one concert. And not only that, but they actually had an opening act, and the opening act was a dog show. It was a little short guy in a hat with dogs walking tight ropes through, flaming rings and doing tricks and stuff on the screen. It was amazing. I would have thought it was stupid at this point in my life, but then it was just awesome.
I mean, anyways, I love dogs. I would have, for me, they could have just paraded on the stage with the dogs. I would have been,
cool. Been fine.
Don't eat the rings and all that kind of stuff, It's
but I certainly think that the Beastie Boys is who I'm talking about. They could have done an amazing show, halftime show. They could have been all over the stage. Probably, in their prime, they would have been, jumping up and down, moving stuff, and they had a lot of popular songs. Fight for Your Right, Sabotage, all those songs that were hits. I really think that they could have put on the halftime show of the century and been just perfectly fine with, I don't know, probably in their early stage, not in too early of their career, probably mid-range, like the 90s, early 90s. They would have been perfect for that type of thing. And they would have definitely put on a good show that the crowd would have loved at that point.
I think you booked that in 95. It does really well. I think if you bring them back and do it today, that would probably do pretty well.
Yeah.
I think enough people remember them, right?
Yeah. And I mean, they've got a lot of, like you said, they got a lot of clout. They got a lot of songs that are still getting played on the radio nowadays anyways. So that's who I would have went with.
Cool. Jack, how about you?
Okay, so my choice would have been a little different than Craig's. I'm thinking more the band, it should be an American band, somebody that basically oozes Americana, that represents Americana. I thought of the Eagles from back in their heyday.
Interesting.
It would be the classic lineup that toured during Hotel California. Don, Glenn, Joe Walsh, Don Felder, and Randy Meisner. Of course, and it was in a period where before they had all these extra performers on stage. Now, Pete and I
it was also before cocaine, Jack. I mean,
it's true.
Yeah, but just the fact that Don's from Texas, Glenn is from Michigan, from all different parts of the country. Felder's from Florida. They all just kind of met up in California, put this band together, and what do you have? An all-American band that they were part country, they were part hard rock, even a little funk and soul thrown into the mix, and with songs like Hotel California, Take It Easy. To me, that would, and the Super Bowl being an American event, what better than to have a band like the Eagles?
True.
Very true. That's a cool choice.
Well, thank you.
I went even further back. So what I did was I hopped in my time machine and I said, all right, what bands could I grab from back in the day that had a lot of hits that a lot of people really loved? And kind of like what Jack said, my first inclination was to book the Beatles. And I think that would have been enormous, obviously. But then I was like, you know what, though? I agree with Jack. I wanted to keep it to an American band, an American thing. I said, well, what other band from that time period? So I'm looking to go, because back in the 60s and the 70s, you didn't have rock bands playing at the Super Bowl. You had like orchestras and big bands and marching bands and all this kind of stuff. They didn't have like rock and roll or pop bands. So I think, all right, so who could I get to one of the first, times where they started having music at the halftime of the Super Bowl? And I'm thinking, well, how cool would it have been in like say 1969 or 1970 to take one of the biggest hit machine rock bands from the US, and where they could play like maybe a 15-minute medley of all their top hits. And quite frankly, all of their songs were like 2.5, 3 minutes long anyway. So they could have played like 6 or 7 of them in a row. Creedence Clearwater Revival.
Nice. Yeah.
Wow.
How cool would it be? Proud Mary, heard it through the grapevine, and all those, Bad Moon Rising. I mean, all that stuff. How cool would it have been to hear?
Wow. That's not what I was expecting you to say, but I like it.
Yeah. No, great choice.
It's a like Matt Jack said, it's a slice of Americana. Everybody knows all these songs. Creedence were a really big deal back in the day, right? And they just had so many hit songs that I think people still know and love today. Never mind back then. And I think they would have been a perfect band for it because they were just so huge at the time. I mean,
yeah, early 70s. Yeah, that would be a perfect show for a halftime show. Love it.
Yeah. So that was my choice. So
very nice.
Like it.
All sorts of interesting stuff here today, everybody. So, for those of you who are into sports, or maybe you could care less about sports, whatever, give some thoughts to some of the picks that we did and what you think. So if you are a baseball fan and you've always kind of fantasized about you being on a Major League Baseball team and having a theme song to walk up to the plate with, let us know which songs would be your theme songs, as well as you football fans who, maybe don't care for a lot of the musical acts at the Super Bowl. Who would you book for the Super Bowl in 2022? And who would you go back in time and would you book into one of the previous Super Bowls? So that's kind of the theme of today. So put your comments below. And at some point while you're either before or after you're doing that, go and visit us on the web at www.seaoftranquility.org. Of course, follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, but we're here on YouTube
all the damn time.
Greg, you're late again.
Dang it. Dang it.
You'll get the hang of it one day.
I'll get it sooner or later.
So tune in soon for more fun, silly musical discussions between the three of us, along with all the rest of the crew on Sea of Tranquility. We got lots of stuff coming up over the next week. So for Craig Sybert and Jack Toledano, I am Pete Pardo. Good night, everybody.
Thanks, Pete.
Have a good one, everybody.
Yep.